Lillian zipped her bag, stepped over her crying babies, ignored her poor, helpless husband, and left without looking back. Why did she leave? Sit tight and find out in this shocking and deeply touching story. Martins and Lillian were a couple that everybody admired. They were so happy together. People would look at them and say, "Wow, I want my marriage to be like theirs." That's how much they loved each other. They had twin baby girls. Tiny, soft, and beautiful. Their names were Annabelle and Annette. The twins were just 3 months old. Martins and Lillian loved them more than anything in the world. Martins worked in a bank in the big, busy city of Lagos. He wasn't very rich, but he had a good job. He had money to take care of his family. They didn't lack anything. They lived in a nice house. They wore good clothes. They even went on vacations sometimes. Life was okay. Lillian, his wife, was very beautiful. People always stared when she walked past. She also cooked very well. But there was one thing about her that was not so good. She always wanted more. More money. More things. More everything. She always wanted to show off. She wanted her friends to think she had the richest husband. So she made Martins buy very expensive things. Even when they didn't have enough money. They had to ship furniture from other countries. Even though good ones were sold right there in Lagos. She would say, "My babies cannot wear what other babies are wearing." So Martins would buy designer clothes for the twins. Even the toys, she would shop for them from abroad. When it was time to go on vacation, she always picked the most expensive place. And when they wanted to buy a house, she chose one that cost way more than they could afford. Martins would always say yes. Why? 'Cause he loved her. He loved the twins. He wanted to make them happy. But because of all the things she made him buy, Martin started to borrow money from the bank. He was spending more than he earned. He was sinking slowly. But he didn't want to say no to Lillian. Then one morning something happened. At work, Martin's boss called him into his office. The man looked around, then closed the door quietly. He leaned closer and whispered something terrible. He told Martins, "Let us steal a little money. Not too much. Just small amounts from every customer. No one will notice. In the end it will become a big amount. We will share it, just you and me." Martins was shocked. His heart began to beat fast. He shook his head quickly. "No sir, I can't do that," he said. "It's wrong. What if they find out?" He left the office worried and confused. That night when he got home, he told Lillian what his boss said. Instead of being shocked, Lillian was angry. "Why did you say no?" she shouted. "That kind of money will help us. We can finally plan the biggest birthday party ever for the twins. We can go on a sweet summer vacation. Why would you say no?" Martins looked down. He stuttered. But it's against the bank's rules. If they find out, I could lose my job. We don't have to throw a big party." Lillian folded her arms. She turned her face away. She didn't want to hear it. She was not happy at all. Martin saw the look on her face. He didn't want her to be sad. He didn't want her to feel disappointed. So slowly he said, "Okay, I'll do it." The next morning he went back to work. He walked into his boss's office. His hands were shaking. "I'm in," he said quietly. They began their secret plan. Every day they took small amounts of money from customer accounts. Just tiny bits, not enough to notice. But people started to complain. "I'm missing money from my account. Something is wrong. Who took my money?" The complaints kept coming. The branch manager was alarmed. He called all the top workers into a meeting. "Something is going on in this bank," he said. "We are going to investigate everything. Every record. Every staff." That evening Martins got home. He sat on the edge of the bed, shaking. "They're investigating," he said. "They know something is wrong." But Lillian just waved her hand. "Relax," she said. "They won't catch you. Just be calm." But Martins couldn't sleep that night. He stayed awake, staring at the ceiling. His thoughts were loud. 1 week later, his worst fear came true. The branch manager called him to the office. Martins walked in slowly, his heart pounding like a drum. The manager looked serious. "We found out the truth," he said. "You were part of the fraud. And because of that you're fired. No salary. No benefits." Martins dropped to his knees. "Please, sir, please." The manager didn't even blink. "We should send you to jail. But we won't. Instead we will take your house. All your valuables. Your bank accounts will be frozen. Please. I have a family. I have babies. Get out." Martins walked out of the office with tears pouring down his face. His hands were shaking. His legs felt weak. He had lost everything. That night when he got home he couldn't talk. He just fell to the floor and cried. And cried. His twins were only 3 months old. How would he feed them now? How would he take care of them? How would he take care of Lillian? Lillian sat beside him. She held him gently and said softly, "Don't worry. We'll figure it out." After Martins lost his job, his family had nothing left. No money, no house, no car. Everything was gone. So Martins, Lillian, and their baby twins, Annabelle and Annette, packed the little things they had and moved to a Saba village, where Martin's father used to live before he died. His late father had left behind an old house. Very old, with cracked walls, rusty windows, and no nice furniture. There was no television, no fridge, no fan, and no air conditioner. But even though the house was poor and broken, it gave them a roof over their heads. It was the only place they could call home. Life in the village was not easy for them. It was hard, very hard. There was no steady food. No money. They were feeding from hand to mouth. That means they only ate if Martins made something small that day. And sometimes they went to bed with empty stomachs. Martins began doing small jobs for people in the village. He would sweep compounds, fetch firewood, carry heavy loads, or help in the farms. Anything just to make a little money so his family could eat. He would leave the house very early before the sun came up, and come back home tired, sweaty, and dirty. Sometimes with cuts on his hands. Sometimes with nothing at all. But he never stopped trying. Lillian, on the other hand, was not used to that kind of life. She had always lived in comfort. Soft mattress, nice food, sweet clothes, air-conditioned rooms. Now she was in a small, hot room with mosquitoes flying around her and the babies. The mattress on the floor was thin and lumpy. It made her body ache every morning. At night she couldn't sleep. She would toss and turn, scratching mosquito bites, fanning the babies with a piece of cloth, crying silently while they cried too. Every day she would complain to Martins. "This mattress is too hard. My body is paining me," she would say. "There's too much heat. No fan. Noisy. I can't sleep. The babies are not eating well. I'm not eating well. This is suffering." Every time she spoke like that, Martin's heart would break into tiny pieces. He didn't know what else to do. He would go close to her, his eyes full of tears, and say, "Please, Lillian, just be patient, please. I'm trying." He would go out the next day and work even harder. Sometimes he didn't eat just so the babies could eat. He didn't buy clothes, didn't rest. He gave everything to keep his family alive. But Lillian wasn't getting better. She was getting worse, angry, sad, tired. She no longer smiled. She no longer cared. She stopped looking at Martins the way she used to. Her eyes were cold now. She didn't go out to help him with the menial jobs. She always stayed at home with the twins. But even while staying at home, her mind was far away. Martins was doing all the work. Alone. Then one evening, after returning from the farm where he had gone to weed and carry baskets for one of the villagers, Martins opened the door and saw something strange. Lillian was standing in the middle of the room. Her face looked blank. She was folding her clothes and stuffing them into a bag. Martins froze. What's happening?" he asked, slowly walking closer. Lillian didn't even look at him. She kept folding her things. "I'm leaving," she said coldly. "I can't suffer anymore." Martins blinked. He thought maybe he didn't hear well. "What? Leave? Where? What about the babies? The twins, Annabelle and Annette, were on the bed, crying. But Lillian didn't look at them. She zipped her bag and picked it up. Martins fell to his knees right there on the dusty floor. "Please, Lillian," he said, his voice breaking. "Please don't leave. Beg you. Let's go through this together. Don't go. What will I do with the babies? Please." But Lillian didn't stop. She walked around him like he was not there, grabbed her handbag and headed for the door. Martins grabbed her leg, still kneeling. "Please, please." She shook his hand off. And she left. Just like that. The door closed behind her. Her footsteps faded into silence. Martins remained on the floor. The twins were still crying, but he couldn't move. He just sat there. That night he didn't sleep. He sat on the cold floor beside the crying babies, staring at the wall. His eyes were wide open. His lips moved, whispering words to God. "Please, Lord, help me. I don't know what to do. I don't have money. I don't have strength. I don't know how to care for two babies alone. Please help me." Far away in the city, Lillian was smiling again. She was now staying at her friend's place. The same friend who used to admire her beautiful clothes and expensive vacations. "You did the right thing," the friend said. "Why stay and suffer with a man who can't give you anything?" Lillian nodded and smiled. She had started sleeping with men for money. Rich men. Old men. Men she didn't care about. She didn't think about Martins. She didn't think about her babies. She didn't call. She didn't check. She didn't care. In Asaba village, Martins kept working very hard. Life was still tough, but he didn't give up. He carried his twin daughters, Annabelle and Annette, whenever he went out to do small jobs for people. Sometimes he helped on the farms. Sometimes he cleaned people's houses. Sometimes he fetched water or chopped firewood, anything that would bring in a little money. When the twins fell sick, Martins would go to the village chemist and buy medicine. But he didn't always have money. So he would beg, "Please let me take the drugs. I will pay later." And the chemist would nod, because everyone in the village knew Martins. They knew he was a good man who never lied. Time passed and the twins grew older. Soon they were old enough to go to school. Martins wiped his tears the day he walked them to the village primary school for the first time. He had saved money little by little just to enroll them. Even though it was a small school, Annabelle and Annette became stars. They were very smart, always answering questions in class, always helping others. The teachers loved them. The headmaster said, "They are the brightest girls I've ever taught." Martins was proud, but he didn't stop working. He started farming full-time. Every morning, he would go into the field, plant crops, remove weeds, and water the soil under the hot sun. Things slowly got better. His farm grew bigger and he made more money. Still not rich, but at least they had food to eat and some clothes to wear. Years passed and the twins finished primary school. They graduated as the best students in the whole school. Everyone clapped and cheered for them. Martins smiled with pride as he watched them receive their certificates. His eyes were full of tears. They moved on to the village secondary school. Just like before, they shined like stars. Teachers loved them. Other students wanted to be their friends. They were smart, polite, and respectful. They studied hard and helped others too. Every day after school, the twins would run home, eat their lunch, and then join their father by the roadside where he now roasted corn to sell. They would sit with him, turning the corn over the fire, laughing together. They didn't have much, but they had love, a love that money could never buy. They were a team. A small family but a strong one. Sometimes the girls would ask, "Papa, where is Mama?" Martins would smile gently and say, "She traveled to a far country for something important. One day she'll come back." The twins would nod quietly. And they never asked again. At night, after dinner, Martins would sit on the old wooden chair, and Annabelle and Annette would gather around him. He would help them with their homework, slowly teaching them with his soft voice. Other nights, he would tell them folk tales, about clever tortoises, wicked lions, and brave girls who changed their lives with kindness. The more he worked, the more he saved. He never stopped. He expanded his farm. He roasted corn every single day. Not one day did he miss his roadside spot. His dream was simple: to save enough money for the twins to go to university. Finally the day came. Annabelle and Annette graduated from secondary school. Again, they were the best graduating students. Everyone clapped. The local government chairman was so impressed that he gave them scholarships, full money to go to Delta State University. When Martins heard the news, he dropped to his knees and cried like a baby. He raised his hands to the sky and said, "Thank you, God. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for my daughters." Meanwhile, far away in Lagos, Lillian was living a very different life. She had become someone else. She was no longer the smiling mother. She didn't call. She didn't visit. She didn't send money. She was now sleeping with many rich men. For money, for trips, for designer bags, for human hair extensions. She dressed in the best clothes, flew on planes, took photos in big hotels, but deep inside she was empty. She had forgotten the life she once had. Back in the university, the twins worked hard in the university. They read day and night. They stayed focused. They didn't chase parties or fashion. They were chasing success. After a few years, Annabelle graduated as the best medical student in the university. And Annette graduated as the best engineering student. Martins wore his best shirt to their graduation. It was old but clean. He sat in the crowd, watching his daughters collect their awards. He cried again, but this time the tears were full of joy. Things changed after that. Annette was offered a high-paying job at the Nigerian National Petroleum Company. Annabelle passed her United States medical licensing exams and became a medical doctor in America. They were now very rich. Not just in love but in money too. They sat down together one day and said, "It's time to take Papa abroad." And so, Martins relocated to America, where he stayed with Annabelle in a beautiful house. A big warm house with soft beds, clean air and love everywhere. One night, as they sat around the dinner table, Martins finally told them the truth about their mother. "She didn't travel to a far country," he said. "She left the day I came back from the farm. You were crying on the bed. She packed her bags and walked away. I begged her, but she left." The twins were quiet. Annabelle held his hand. Annette looked into his eyes and said, "It doesn't matter anymore, Papa. We have you. And that's more than enough." And just like that, the past lost its power. Years passed. The twins grew older. Their careers grew bigger. Martins was now strong and happy again. But far away in Lagos, Lillian was no longer smiling. Her life had fallen apart. The rich men stopped coming. Her beauty faded. One day she found out she had HIV. And slowly it became AIDS. She became sick, very sick. Alone. Or forgotten. No one to call. No one to cry to. No one to love her. And then she died.